I welcome you. Thanks for being here this morning. My name is Kurt Baxter. I am a digital media strategy manager for Salem Web Network. Anybody know Salem? You familiar? Okay, so it sounds like some people know at least. At the risk of some arrogance, we are a really big footprint in Christian media space, both in broadcast radio and then digitally. We own roughly some 17, 18 what we consider to be flagship Christian content websites. In addition to that, we manage the advertising marketing realm for a website called Bible Gateway. And all told, we're reaching about 31 million monthly unique users across the network and those two different properties. I get pretty passionate about the subject that I've got for you today. And it is not, I want to be clear, it's not an original thought on my part. It is largely informed by principally two people. One, a man named Seth Godin. I encourage you, if you're not familiar with Seth Godin, to become familiar with Seth Godin. He is an author, a speaker, entrepreneur, and I think a pretty bright fellow with respect to marketing. And the other person is a man named Paul Adams, and Paul was the lead design for Google on Google+. He left Google and went to Facebook, and there was some media headline about all that, and he really had a great job over at Facebook. Again, as a lead design, of trying to figure out kind of where Facebook lands today in this culture that we're in. And today he's now not even at Facebook anymore, but both men have informed me pretty greatly. And so just want to start off by saying that Seth Godin is promulgating this idea of the connection economy. What I find today more than anything, and it's very frustrating, is that people tend to be focused on now, right now. This is a big challenge, and his whole point is in focusing on tribe. The tribe is your constituency. Tribe is your activist base. It's your fan base. It's your friends. It's the people that share a common value, common language, common passion, common desire. So it's essential that we have this tribe. And as I look around and as I encounter and experience the church in my daily routine, in my weekly efforts, this is exactly not the case. I just had the opportunity to visit with Kurian, and he shared his story, and that story looks like, American Airlines knows me better than my pastor does. That's really a shame. The tribe becomes the platform that's going to take your message to the next level. It's the platform of folks that are going to turn to this person and share your message. It's going to grow the opportunity ahead of you. And ultimately, they're the same folks that are going to support you both financially and with their time. As I mentioned before, the problem today is that people are, right now, what I find is everyone's thinking about now. And they're doing that because they're thinking about today's technology. They're thinking about the things that they read and hear in the media. Everything's moving faster. I ought to be able to do this. Let's be on Twitter. We need to be on LinkedIn. Have we got a Facebook account? Who's managing that? So the idea, the sense of this is that we've got to be moving, we've got to be moving, we've got to be moving. And I think that's a mistake. And Seth Godin suggests that that's a mistake as well. The internet ecosystem, it has a number of opportunities. It's also got its challenges. The focus seems to be everywhere but where it needs to be, and that's on people. Everyone's focused on technology, and they've completely lost contact with people. This is problematic because at the end of the day, technology changes very, very fast. We all understand that. People, however, don't. I'm going to borrow from Paul Adams' sort of simple humanity media timeline and share with you this snapshot, if you will. But just for sake of reference, it took nearly 38 years for the radio to reach an audience of 50 million. It took 13 years for television to do that. It took the internet just 4, and I'm speaking namely of Facebook. That's incredible velocity, incredible velocity. So here's the history of humanity in simple form timeline. We have to go back about 28,000 years, depending on where you land with science and creation. But we have records back to 28,000 years, roughly 30,000 years, to the first human externalized thoughts, which were basically hieroglyphics or cave drawings. Prior to that, we make monumental leaps forward, and it's not really until the advent of the printing press, the invention of the printing press or the alphabet, that we even see any real major developments. And the challenge here, what's really important about this timeline, is that most of the things that we refer to today as new technology, most of them happened yesterday with respect to the context of time. Think about the telegraph, for example. If you wanted to send a message 180 years ago, how did you do it? If you wanted to get a message to someone, you put them on a horse, and you sent that horse running, and hopefully the horse made it. There were all kinds of obstacles and potential problems on the way, and you didn't get a confirmation email that the message got there. It might be another month or more before you even knew that your message had arrived. But interestingly enough, and what's really interesting about how people in particular have used this media, and with respect to this timeline, it's every single time a new technology presents itself, people use the way they're using the existing media and apply it to the new media. And this is hugely problematic, and it's very evident today. It's really problematic if you think just in the last 15 years, and had a nice discussion yesterday with Justin Wise, not understanding that the internet today is a two-way conversation. It is no longer broadcast. This is not just a push out that I'm projecting things to you, but when the internet was in its, consider the last 20 years beta, it was what? Paste and cut content, right? You went out to a site, you'd surf it, and you were just kind of navigating around, but it was going one direction. It wasn't integrated. You weren't engaging with it. That's over. That's history. Today, it's a two-way conversation. So when we consider what's happening, and you think about the telegraph, for example, or the telephone even, Alexander Graham Bell's pitch on the telephone was that it was actually a broadcast device. Are you aware of this? His pitch was that people who couldn't necessarily get to a religious sermon or a musical event, literally, could dial in so that they could hear the event. That was his application, because he was taking how they use the existing media and applying it to the new technology. When we consider, actually, cinema today is really visual newspaper. Television are recorded video plays. They're tele-recorded plays. The web was even cut and paste, put it online initially. So we've constantly taken where we're at with the way that we use this existing media and applying what we know to the new media. And that's very short-sighted. And it's leaving us largely disconnected. People applied the ways they work with the existing medium to the new medium. Now, here's the thing. If you're gonna really persist in a conversation around technology, remain focused on technology, I'd encourage you to reconsider. For the very reasons that we've talked about, technology changes really fast. People don't. So I would imagine that the conversations you're going to be having around technology, even in a year, are going to be vastly different than they are today. Focus on people, not on technology. And here's the thing, I believe this with all my heart. I believe this is a function of the fall, but that the human heart is predisposed to say first, what's in it for me? Just think about your own initial encounters. Whenever you're assessing something, you're probably asking yourself, how's this going to impact me? How is this going to impact my family? How's it going to impact the things that I'm doing? And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in the most holy of ways. You are a being that's been designed in the image of the Creator. So this is not a problematic thing. It's just a function of who we are. if we accept that premise, that in fact that the initial contact that we have with someone, just think this way. When I meet you for the first time, it's not, hi, I'm Kurt, and I'm good, right? It's how are you? But the focus needs to be on you, and we're assessing things that way. Otherwise, we wouldn't process that as problematic, right? That just makes sense. But culturally, that's not the case. It's not how we work. So I refer to that as the WIFM. And I think that what our approach needs to be, as I just said, is focusing on them instead of on, hi, I'm Kurt and I'm good, which is what most of the ministries, businesses, nonprofits that I work with are doing initially. Hi, we do this really great job. We save a lot of people, and everyone knows Jesus because of what we're doing. That's paraphrasing, obviously, but that's how we're encountering people initially, and that's not the right way to do it. If we think of Proverbs 4:7, the paraphrase for me is seek first to understand, then be understood. The actual verse from the NIV, the beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom, though it costs you all you have, get understanding. Pretty significant to me. Identify what people are doing, why they're doing it, get to understand them, get to know who they are, take that time, and then apply the technology or engage the technology that's going to serve their need best. That may be digital, it may not be, it may be media, it may be, it may be printed, it may be television, it may be radio, it may be a consortium of all those media streams. Paramount importance, you have to have a connection first. And this is what I think the web is predominantly the most powerful and useful tool that we have access to today. No other medium that I can think of. If you're watching television, you've still got to set down whatever you're doing and make a click, make a connection, pick up the phone. If you're reading a paper, you've got to do the same thing. If you're listening to radio, if I'm listening to radio, I've got to pull over and stop driving in order to do that, because it's the only time I listen to radio. The web is the one place, and now the web has just moved into your hand. It's constantly with you. The web is the one place that I have an opportunity to make an immediate connection with you. If I've identified what your interests are and I've made a connection there, that connection can happen in real time right here. So you have to have a connection first. Now, let me introduce you to the patron saint of marketing. This is Betty Crocker, although not a great image. I apologize to you for that. Betty Crocker is an icon, of course, within American culture. And in 1937, General Mills took a woman actor, put her on the radio. She read reader comments for 30 minutes, and General Mills made a lot of money. They made so much money that they kept doing it over and over and over again, so that by 1960, there were 250 different women signing their names as Betty Crocker, and General Mills was making billions, with a B, dollars. This was so successful that they went on to create this idea, this pattern, this model, really, if you will, and it's the interruption model of marketing. You go on to I'm old enough to remember Charlie Tuna, the Jolly Green Giant. Of course, you know Ronald McDonald. All these icons that become the avatars for branding, if you will, for a particular brand. But this sets the pace that the idea was you could take the average person and just pound them over the head enough times with enough imagery and with this avatar that they've grown some affinity with, that ultimately they'll just get tired of it and they'll give up and they'll buy. And that this is the beginning of the interruption model. It's really that broadcast model. The idea behind it is a four-letter word, and it's not one that we can't say in this room. It's more. Virtually every CEO, every foundation, every board, they've all got that same drive, and I don't slight them for it. It's our American culture. American culture says more. We've got the website set up, get more clicks. We've got the team in place, we need more donations. We've got the right stuff here, we need to get whatever it is. We need more. That's the mindset, and that mindset really is appealing to a mass marketing audience. That's the whole point. Reaching a larger swath, because that's what more is, right? We need more. The problem with it is that it leads to more average people resulting in more average stories and more average relationship. There's really no meaningful connection here. We're just scooping up more. That's all we're doing. The model's not working so well today. It started out fine. I mean, when Betty Crocker first opened in 1937, they made several $100,000 off that one venue. So it worked initially. Today it's not working so well. And by my own experience, my own encounters with different mission groups, nonprofits, churches, one of the most common things I hear is my constituency file is shrinking. My donor budgets are going away. I need help. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I need to make a connection. We need more money. Now I'm also old enough to remember when there were really only 3 networks, ABC, NBC, and CBS. That was it. Gilligan's Island was on CBS, I believe, and that was my show. But today, virtually every logo you run into on the web is a network spot. It's an opportunity to connect. And you know, when you're faced with the pressures of trying to answer the board, you're trying to make more connections, you're trying to raise funds for your mission effort, whatever the case may be, this can be pretty daunting. And so I guess we can just all give up and have a pity party. Or we can approach this as Seth Godin does, and as I mentioned at the outset, I'm a disciple of Seth's. I think we can look at this and see this as a huge opportunity. There's a great potential opportunity in the times that we're in right now because the connection point really is truly with you right now. It doesn't have to be that American Airlines knows me better than my pastor. But my pastor's got to first connect. We've got to connect. We've got to have the connection. We've got to know one another. Before we go into that, I want to lay on you, this whole thing that I've been talking about is really a cultural ideal around industrialized economy, okay? And the reason that industrialized economy has had such a profound impact and it is because of some really extraordinary events. Can anybody tell me who this is? It's not a great picture, but anybody know?
John Glenn.
It is not, but good guess. It is Yuri Gagarin. This is the first man in space, not the first man on the moon, first man in space. But here's the really crazy thing about Yuri Gagarin. This is where Yuri Gagarin grew up. This is a mud hut. 25 years later, he goes into space. That is extraordinary. A human being goes from a mud hut in wood in 25 years to outer space. They wrap him in some aluminum foil, really, and send him into space. No computers, etc. He's gone. But we've gone from a mud hut to space in 25 years. That is astronomical. And the thing is, the guy really behind it all is the 20th century's man of the year, Henry Ford. Henry Ford, he's created the factory. He changes our entire culture. He makes it possible that everybody here in this room right now has more wealth than the last king of France. That's shocking, but that's a fact. Henry Ford puts out a call to the folks in Detroit and says, if you're making 50 cents a day, I'll pay you $5. That's a 10x change. Just like that. Creates the factory, people are moving. This is my way out. This is my way up. It's an opportunity. I can increase my personal wealth, etc. Right? He redefines efficiency and production to the tune of a 10x change. The problem is that you come in and you go to this assembly line, and now you come in and you have a task, right? This is your one task. Do that and do it well, and you do it all day long, and you finish and you come out ahead of the game. But if you don't show up tomorrow, I've got Jake to take your place. So you've been reduced to the sum total of your role on that assembly line. Now, in the meantime, you're making money, but we've set in motion this idea that it's more important to get efficiency and productivity out and remove the humanity. And by removing the humanity, we're improving the efficiency. And that becomes a huge, it's universal. It affects every one of us. Now, if you'll indulge me here, So here we are with the assembly line in the factory.
Well, this is easier. Yeah, we can handle this, okay?
Things clearly get a little out of hand there on the factory line, but that's exactly the nature of the factory. The idea is to get bigger and better and more efficient, and the whole while removing the humanity out of the element. Just take the humanity out of it. Ever critical to the ever-growing industrial element is the org chart. And what you have in this instance is a few people at the top making decisions with everybody else at the bottom being told what to do. We've become just interchangeable people. And this, what you have to understand about why this is important is it becomes part of the American psyche. It's not just industrialism, it's become part of the American psyche. It starts to overlay on everything that we do. And the result of this industrialization starts very early in school. Whenever we were 3, 5, 6, 7 years old and you started to do something and the teacher, you said, you need you do this test, and you do this test. I need you to do that test better. It's never enough, right? So the bar is ever increasingly raised, and we start to hold back a little bit, right? You start to hold back a little bit. We want to fit in a little bit more. We just want to do what we're told. Classic example of this. Everybody raise your hand. All right, raise it a little higher. What's that about? If not the industrialization, what's that about? We're doing what we're told, right? We're fitting in. I did notice some reticence over here, so that was great. I appreciate it. Industrialism and capitalism, I don't need to tell you guys these things, but I want you to get the essence of this. Capitalism is taking a risk, often using someone else's money with a full-on understanding that you might fail. But you're still going to move forward with it. Industrialism, completely the opposite. It's all about refining process, optimizing. Did we ever hear that word today? It's drilling down into efficiencies. We want to get more. Heard that word before today. More. I want more ROI. I want more leads. I want more whatever it is. But humanity, what's that? That's not who we are in the scheme of things, except that even though we're now working for, and we find ourselves in the body of the kingdom, and I think we seem to operate on this presumption that we've all got a common connection through Christ Jesus. And we certainly do have a connection with Christ and the tenets of the faith. However, in our focus and our industrialized culture, we have lost sight of connections with one another. The human connection is missing. It's gone. So what's all this mean, and why is it relevant? More now than ever, I think I'm nearly 50, and I'm definitely asking questions like, does my life matter? Have I made the right decisions? Have I made a difference? Am I going to be missed? But I think people across the spectrum are still asking the big questions. They want to know if they matter. They want to make a difference. They want to connect. They want to fit in. But they want to fit in a way that they've been influential and had some impact. It's really how we engage with people today that's going to change that. And the internet and this device right here, they've changed already how we do that. Justin Wise's dissertation, if you didn't get to participate in that yesterday, I'd encourage you to meet him. Sharp fella, and he gets it. He understands what's going on. Information is growing exponentially. I want you to think about Justin had an amazing slide, and we were talking about this before you guys came in. I know some of you saw it yesterday, so at the risk of being redundant. In 2005, was it Pope Benedict? Is that right? In 2005, there's a picture of Pope Benedict's, his inauguration. You see all these people, and they're all looking. You just see a throng of people, backs of heads. And you flash forward to 2013, current Pope, same vantage point, inauguration, and what you see, the screen is littered almost like lighters at a rock concert when I was in college, old school. It was crazy, the difference, and that happened in just, 9 years? 8 years, very good. So technology is just blowing up in terms of its velocity and change. How then do we deal with that? It's just too much. The fact of the matter is that each one of us, you're probably walking out of here today and you're loading content out into the stratosphere. You're Facebooking, you're LinkedIn, you're doing some, you're tweeting. All of this is content, and you're populating the airwaves with this content. So we're just blowing up content. There's a nice snapshot. I wasn't able to capture it for this. It shows, they were selling this when I was in high school. Britannica Encyclopedia, 24 volumes. That truly is about from the edge of here to here. If you today took a snapshot, set that same snapshot alongside Wikipedia, anybody want to guess what it looks like? Yeah, it's like 2 tractor trailers back to back, stacked and packed. That is the volume of information available today against that Britannica Encyclopedia, which was the be-all, end-all go-to when I was growing up. The fact of the matter is we're just in information overload. As I mentioned, technology changes really fast. People don't. So our capacity to adjust to this velocity just doesn't exist, and it probably isn't going to evolve in our lifetime. So what do? Increasingly, we are turning to our friends. And this is why having a connection, this is why building a tribe is so critically important. Because today, when you are facing all this information, when you're facing all these possibilities, you are reticent to make a decision about those things. You're quite naturally, the human condition is going to go and say, Jake, what would you do in this situation? I'm not sure what to do, and there's all these things telling me this. What's your experience? I'm going somewhere where I've got a connection that I can trust, that knows me and that I know and that I like, and it can inform me and I can be safe. That's what's happening today. I'm going to argue that human relationships and brand relationships are very similar. They take place in much the same way. Think about how you make friends. I got an email this week from Kurian. He'd met Bill Long, who's a friend and colleague of mine at a different event. And Bill suggested to him that he should know me. And so I get to know Kurian really through a connection with Bill. So you start to have a connection. We find out we like the same things. We like telling a story, or we like the ideas around telling a story. So maybe next month we're at CLA or we're at another conference and we start sharing some notes. But we're having little lightweight interactions over time. I don't ask Kurian to invest in my next project tomorrow because he'd probably go, what? I don't even know you. Who are you? What are you talking about? Bill says you're a good guy, but that's strong. The point is that human relationships are these series of lightweight touches over time that lead to a major event, right? It might be that Kurian and I become friends, and I find that he likes to golf or he likes to snowboard. And so one of these trips we managed to go snowboarding, and I meet some other friends of his, and we're having a really good time. And then the next thing you knew, we're all doing the YMCA at some party function, and pictures are being posted on the web to people I don't even know, right? This is how we move from this I don't know you into a relational aspect. And frankly, Justin stole my thunder yesterday when he said it's very much like a human relationship in a metaphor related to dating. I assure you that if I were to meet someone, I'm married, so that's not going to happen, but if I were to meet someone and we were to agree to go to dinner, and right after dinner I was slam head over heels in love and said, will you marry me tomorrow? That person's going to be like, get back, slow down. You're out of your mind. You're crazy. It's just how we operate. And this is not going to change, not in our lifetime. People need many lightweight touches over time, leading to a heavier engagement. It's all related to trust, or turn trust into love. And ultimately, our goal, all of our goal, is to have someone say, I like this brand, I love this brand, and you should buy it, or you should too. Whatever the language, it sounds a lot like that. I like it, and you should too. And that's going to happen out of your friend connection, out of your tribe. I love this, and you will too. We've kind of touched on it already. The web was originally built really as a browsing station. I mean, it was a bunch of cut and paste content. People could go out and they could sort of surf around and so on and so forth. But information was flowing one direction. Today, the web is being re-architected around the individual. And you need to get this. It's not gonna happen, it's happening right now. There's a website called SB. Anybody know that site? Have you ever heard of it? SB it's a shopping site. If you go to SB, what they've done, they've re-architected their site right now so that you go and you sign in through Facebook. It extrapolates all this information about things I've indicated I like or am involved in, et cetera, and it repopulates, it re-architects that SB site so that now if you're my friend and you're going to think, what can I get, it's my birthday coming up, what can I get for you? This site is populated, showing you 7 layers and levels of my interest. And suddenly it's a whole different thing. And if you've got these 2 websites and you got this one here and you got that experience, you're going to go to that website. You're going to go to the one that's making it easier and your experience is better, sure. E-S-P-E-Y, I believe, but don't hold me to that.
I think it's just E-S-P-Y.
Is it? There you go. It's fascinating, and this is the thing. It's not even really about the website so much as it's what people are doing, and you guys have all heard this, I'm sure. But they're aggregating this information. They're aggregating your behavior and your preferences. They're following it around, and they're building a profile, all in the interest, as creepy as it sounds, all in the interest of making your experience better. Like who enjoys the fact? I meant there were 3 networks: ABC, NBC, CBS. Who enjoys the fact you've got 999 channels today? Really?
With nothing on.
Yeah. You have the opportunity to, there you go. We've got DVR, TiVo, remote controls for a reason, and today we're not afraid to use them. In fact, more and more and more people are. You got to understand that the internet is being re-architected around the individual, around your interests. The key takeaway, the web is being rebuilt around people. Experiences are better when they're involved with you, your friends, your interests, and your friends' interests. And the amount of information that we can access is increasing exponentially. However, no marketing or advertising is ever going to supersede the influence or the commonality of somebody referencing from your friends, for example. Me giving you a referral to say, do this, is way more powerful than any ad you're going to ever see. All this information will be everywhere. In fact, it is already everywhere. And this is the thing. This is really crazy. You know, we talked about Henry Ford and the advent of the car, and Ben Horowitz was at Web 2.0, I think it was last year, and he made this comment because everyone's asking, what about mobile? Where's mobile going? What do we do with mobile? How do we utilize mobile? And he said, you know, mobile's a lot like the car. When you look at the car, it was a marvel of invention when it came out, right? Because the thing that it replaced horses, for crying out loud. But the thing that's really interesting about the car is that it did the unimaginable. It changed our landscape. Suddenly people are moving away from urban environments and they're living in suburbia. You guys know about suburbs here. This is LA. People are migrating away from the little small, or the urban neighborhoods. They're moving away from the small store owners. All of a sudden there's big box retail. There's big time development. It changed commerce, literally. This is going to do the same thing. Well, this is pretty cool that you can walk around and see the internet, and you can do Facebook, and you can text, and you can send instant messages, and you can be in communication and connected. What's really interesting about what's going to happen with this is how it's going to change commerce. I can't even imagine all the ways. I mean, can you think I'm in a store somewhere, and Jake says, Kurt, I just got this thing, and I got it for X bucks, and I'm standing at the store, and really, and I find this, and boom, I'm out the door, I'm on to where this thing is at. I'm putting this on my generation. I truly can't grasp all the possibilities of how this is going to change things. Anybody that tells you that they've got it all, they're delusional. I don't think we have a clue, only to know that it's going to be ubiquitous, it's already everywhere, and it's going to do some really cool stuff. We now live in the time of the connection revolution. This is according to Seth Godin. This is Seth's idea. Yesterday, Justin talked about being sort of in this hybrid zone. Seth calls this the connection revolution. We're at the place right now, everyone here, we have this common bond, we have this commonality of value, etc., that is Christ and the kingdom. We're all here this morning. We weren't here last week. We won't be here next week. But somebody, thank you, David Bourgeois, took the time to organize this, brought us all together, and created value. We have the ability, each one of us, we have the ability to work together and understand how we can work with each other. We're representatives of the kingdom. We fundamentally understand the greatest commandment, and that is to love God and love people. I don't think we're doing a great job of the love and people part today. But we can do this. We can establish the trust base in that covenant. Permission, and I give credit to Seth on this. Permission, really important, right? Now you have the privilege to talk to somebody who actually will listen to what you're saying, as opposed to just running out and spewing stuff at people. Anybody, the first person you encounter. An exchange of ideas. Hopefully you guys learn more from yesterday through tomorrow than you're going to learn from this one session with me. It's the power and the synergy of all these people that are around you, these great minds working together, exchanging ideas and doing things that really make synergy happen and make things go forward, and we have that opportunity. But it's this idea of exchange of ideas. And all these four things, this coordination, this trust, the exchange of ideas, and permission, they all hinge on two things according to Seth Godin. They hinge on generosity, and they hinge on art. And generosity is important because nobody wants to connect with somebody who's not generous. I don't think. Do you? I mean, would you like to hang out with a stingy, mean person? Most of us don't want to do that. But art, in the sense that not like music or not like a painting, but art in the very fact that it's the human act of connecting. The human act of connecting and being willing to take a risk that it might not work out, that you might fail, that you might actually scuff your knees. You can do this art working with the IT department. You can do this art working at a conference here in Los Angeles at Biola, just trying to connect with people. The whole idea is that we're connecting. That's what's important. That's the idea around this growing your tribe. Seth says each one of us individually and organizationally should be growing our own tribes, and I absolutely concur. We're missing the boat there. Here's something that Justin touched on yesterday. I want to touch on because this is of paramount importance. Do you really know your story? And when I interview most of the ministry and nonprofit groups that I meet with, they've got these ideas. They've got very good ideas about what they want to do to meet their goals for the year. And when I say that, they've strategized that they're going to do X number of emails, and they've parlayed certain resources, and they've got this vision for this. So that part's in place. But then I say, well, what's the call to action? What's the opportunity? What's the connection point? Why am I connecting with you? And oh my gosh, the answers I get back, they're appalling. And I say, really, that's exciting to you? You would connect with that? It stops everyone, and I'm glad you chuckled, but it's really serious, right? Because this is more important than anything else. If you don't even know what your story is, how can you authentically convey that to anyone, and why would anyone authentically connect with you? American Airlines knows you better than your pastor does. That's not cool. That's not a good thing. We've got to find a way to connect, and in order to connect, we got to know who we are. Here's the thing, you know, if we liken this, if we made this analogous to the commerce world, everyone out there's created the widget. Let's call it bottled water, right? Everyone's got their brand of bottled water, but they're the same. From one to the next, virtually they're the same, right? They tried to do the diet water thing, but that didn't work out. So we're back to just everyone's got water, and it's 98 cents a bottle. I wish. Everyone's bottle's 98 cents. So why are they picking you over the next one? They're not. Unless someone say, you know, you got your boss, well, look, we need to drop the price. We need to be down in the 89-cent bottle. Well, here's the problem with that. You're in a race to the bottom, and the problem with being in a race to the bottom is you might win. You might actually be the guy who gets there first, and that's not a good thing. So your only chance is to be the one and only. Your only chance is to be remarkable, is to do something extraordinary, to be identified extraordinary, to understand what you're doing and to communicate it well, concisely, connect with people authentically. It all starts with connecting. Connections scale. They scale through tribes. Tribes are a group of people who share a common language, a common vision, a common leader, a common mission. Not rhetorical. As believers in the God-man Jesus, are we really missing a common mission? Are we really, is it, I mean, this is the creator of the universe, the Son of God, who's done all these things. How is it that we've landed in this place where we have no courage, where we've declawed the Lion of Judah, in essence? It's embarrassing to me. It's embarrassing enough that I found the courage to come up and stand in front of you guys today. I thank you for your grace. I hope that you can leave here and that you can take these thoughts back to your people. And that you can, and oh, by the way, that you get a whole lot more from the rest of the conference, that you're able to coalesce all these thoughts and to do something really amazing. I'd like to ask you to do something for me, just kind of another fun aha moment for in here. So please, if you would, read the screen and go. Stop. 7 seconds. 7 seconds. We have the ability to find commonality. People want to connect. People want to do things together. They want to be involved and they want to make a difference. We can find to do that. Your job is to find that tribe. Understand, commit to where it's headed, organize it, lead it, communicate. But that's what our job is as emissaries of Christ in the world that we live in today through this technology. It's not to be known more for what we're against than what we're about. It's to find some way to use what God's given us through human creation, because we're all procreators, as Justin said yesterday, and use it to the glory of the kingdom. People are waiting for you guys to show up. I heard, and it may have been Paul Adams and it may have been Seth Godin, but you know, the Beatles didn't invent teenagers. They simply showed up to lead them. We've got a bunch of folks out there that are asking questions, that are lost, they're confused. Frankly, they think we're all hypocrites, and they don't have a lot of good reason to not be mindful of that or to think that way. I see every day, all too often, things that are taking them away, and I probably don't have it here to grab for you. Just on the way over here, the headline in USA Today from yesterday: Apple takes on Android, new software services aimed to be the hub of your life. This is what we're competing with. This is the stuff that we're talking. Instead of competing with, I should change that and say, this is what we're working with and what we need to embrace. The digital world is a great vehicle to connect. It's an awesome vehicle to connect. Focus on people, not on technology, and be generous and do art. And as a final thank you, I'd indulge you to just enjoy these 3 or so minutes with me.
About our work, what we have to understand is that the real part of our work is not the hobby part, the fun part, the part where we would do it anyway. It's the difficult emotional labor of connecting when maybe it's not the easiest thing to connect. That what we have is this opportunity, the same way Philippe Petit had an opportunity to go do something because we can, not because it's what the client wants today. Maybe it's not about what they say they want, maybe it's about what they need. So, a couple stories to wrap up. There used to be a flight from White Plains to Boston. I live near White Plains, and I hated that flight because if I drove, I would spend the whole time in traffic thinking I should have flown. If I flew, I would spend the whole time circling the airport thinking I should have driven. Well, once I flew to Boston, and it was great. I got there in 27 minutes, a record. But on the way back, I got punished, and we circled the White Plains Airport at 9 o'clock at night until we ran out of fuel and made an emergency landing in Albany. Now, I'm sorry, but Albany's a little bit of a pit. And we're on the ground at 9:30. The pilot comes on, he says, you know, we'll be on the ground for 2 hours. Then I think we'll be able to fly back to White Plains. I think this is nonsense. I open my laptop, I go online, Avis has 1 car left. I grab it, it's 4-door. Pay for the car, put my laptop away, stand up, turn to the audience. Oh, I'm sorry, everyone's an audience now. Turn to the, what that's called passengers. Turn to the passengers on the plane. I say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm wearing a tie. I'm not a psychopath. Here's the thing. My car is in White Plains. I think your car is too. I got 3 empty seats. Who wants a ride? No one raised their hand. As far as I know, they're still in Albany. And I spent the whole ride home thinking, why didn't anyone come with me? And then I realized the problem. The problem is if you stay on the plane, it's United Airlines' fault. If you get off the plane, it's your fault. And we have trained you and indoctrinated you to stay on the plane. David Rakoff told this great story before he died in an essay. Going to the movies, the theater is empty, he's in the front row. Woman's walking in just before it starts, says, excuse me, is this seat taken? Right there he has an existential crisis. Is this seat taken? Do you know how many people want your seat? Do you know how many people want the privilege you have, and the leverage you have, and the skills you have, and the connections you have? You don't have a job. You have a platform. A platform to do art. A platform to take chances. A platform to connect. You can look at the world and say we're toast. Or you can say this is a great opportunity. An opportunity to make something that matters. To make art, to lead, to connect, to take risks, and yes, to fly closer to the sun. And you do not have to do this alone. Look to your left and look to your right. The Hong Kong Cavaliers are all here. There are other people who are willing to stand up and say, this tool we know how to use enables more than building a factory. This tool enables people to matter. Here's the thing. I have no doubt that everyone in this room is going to succeed. The question is, will you care enough to matter? Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's it, guys. That's it for my presentation anyway.
Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Visit biola.edu to find out how Biola could make a difference in your life.